Good morning, everyone. Today, this is the research methodology video lecture series. I'm going to talk about writing a good report. If you see, so in this chapter, we are going to see the important skills that one researcher needs to effectively present his research in written form, how to structure and write professional reports, how to write clear and concise abstract, how to present your data and results clearly, how to make proper referencing and avoid plagiarism. All these things will be the mainstay of today's talk. Quite often, a report is the only evidence that your research or project is completed. Unless you have developed a clear report, we can never say that we have completed the given research. The report represents the good work carried out by the researcher. Even a bad research or project work could be turned into a good one by producing a good report, and the other way also it can happen. You cannot disguise sloppy investigation, development, implementation, analysis, and method with a few carefully chosen words. As you begin your project or research works report, bear in mind two main things. One, what is the purpose of this report and who is going to read it? So, under what is the purpose, you may have to raise questions like, is it to obtain the best mark you can achieve for your project, or is it to present your work in a good way, or is it to disseminate your ideas and results to others, or is it to provide a thorough literature review of the field, or is it to inspire others, persuade them to get involved with your research, or is it to fulfill the requirements of your course? Some objectives are narrow, some objectives are broad, or is it all mixed and you have a hybrid purpose with everything that we have discussed in your mind? This will actually be the foundation with the kind of report that you are going to produce. Second consideration, who is going to read it? What do they already know? What do you want them to learn? What do you want them to gain from your report? How do you want to influence them? Will it be read by people other than your examiners, like future employees, employers, students, academics, experts, etc.? There are two main approaches that people tend to use when they write the reports. So, one approach is top down approach. So, when I say a top down approach, it is used to identify the structure of your report with a chapter breakdown structure. How many chapters there will be, what each chapter will be containing, each chapter breakdown into subsections with subheadings identified under each chapter. Can they go on to complete these sections at an appropriate point when results are obtained and information is acquired? So all these things actually will be under the top-down approach. The second approach we talk about is the evolutionary delivery. So this kind of an approach is adopted by most of us without really realizing that we are under this type of approach for report writing. In this approach, you begin to write parts of your report as and when the tasks under the parts evolve, you fill those parts, and over a period of time, your report gets filled. Your supervisor, with draft after draft, may not like to repeatedly read this one when you go and show him. This kind of evolutionary report writing has its problem, like, if there is someone who is supposed to supervise and correct your report, when you write a portion, give them again, improve it and give them. So one report might have to be seen in different sections repeatedly by the supervisor, so they may not be really liking this approach. So a more sensible approach to present is with a series of drafts to your supervisor might be as follows. 1. A chapter breakdown structure. This will allow your supervisor to check quickly if you are on the right lines, including all the appropriate sections and covering the appropriate material. 2. A completed major section. This will allow your supervisor to check your writing style, presentation, depth of discussion, referencing at an early stage. Say for example, chapter 1 introduction can be completed well before your research work is complete. Literature review can also be completed once you have finalized the reference or base papers. 3. A significant draft. Most of the report should be in place at this stage before you obtain feedback from your supervisor. So any missing sections should be identified with descriptions in the significant draft stage. Completed chapters. As an alternate to presenting a significant draft to your supervisor, you might want to present your report one chapter at a time as you complete them. So any chapter that is completed, then you will hand it over to your supervisor. He will verify it. This is one approach. Final draft. This should be virtually a final report, and the last draft of the report our supervisor will see before it is completed and handed in. It will probably be too late for you to make any significant changes to your report at this stage, but your supervisor might spot some areas for final improvement. The two approaches introduced above can be combined so that you identify, perhaps at the start of your project, the specific sections of your report chapters. The $1,000,000 question is, when should we really start writing the report? Before really, these computers where only typewriters were in place, students used to spend their 80% of effort on the research, development and experiments only. Finally, when they have their own, notes and stuff that documented their work, they will sit up, cooking the whole report. But now with the advent of, personal computers, and that too they're very affordable. Now actually many word processing softwares available. With all these things, actually writing a report should really start from the starting of your project itself. It means that you don't have to push the writing task to the end of the chapter, end of the project work, but possibly as little as your research or project advances, you start producing some outputs. You should start documenting them side by side and simultaneously. At the very least, you should be keeping good notes as your project progresses, so that when you come to the final write up, all material and information you require are readily available. At the research degree level, you may have to have few papers published before you really complete your thesis. So as you complete publishing a paper, you can readily convert them into one chapter. Or if you have undertaken a software development based project or research, then you may convert your requirements documents into a chapter, your design into another chapter, your implementation into another chapter, validation into another chapter, and so on. So whatever the case, be aware that leaving your entire write-up to the very end is not a good approach. There is a particular order to writing. Right? If you follow these 10 stages, you will finally end up with a smart report. Number 1, identify the structure. That means you are going to clearly be ready with the contents that you are going to place in your report. Usually it is called a report breakdown structure. 2, identify presentation style, like layout, font, numbering conventions, etc. should be very clear, so that you will not be having inconsistency during the report development. Avoid broad open spaces or cramped layouts. Use 11 or 12 point font. They are readable, like sans serif, Arial, etc. Use single justified column with adequate margins for binding purposes. Use page numbers centered at the foot of each page. 3, draft the introduction. The introduction gives the reader a good idea about the content that you are going to present to him. So you need to make your introduction very clear, easily understandable. Remember that your introduction might include or consist mainly of literature review. As such, it should be tackled early so that your grounding in the subject is complete. 4, develop the main body. The main body of your report is the next part you should work on. You might include chapters such as methods used, analysis performed, etc. 5, articulate conclusions and make recommendations. Your conclusions and recommendations should be one of the last things that you complete. So at the early stage of your research work or project, don't try to comprehend something as your conclusion. Complete the introduction. As part of the evolutionary approach of writing, you might well find that your introduction needs some reworking after you have completed the rest of your project report. So that also needs a kind of fine tuning before it is complete. Write the abstract. You cannot really write a clear abstract for your report until you know what has been included in it. So you need to write effective abstract by making it as a summary of your entire work. 8. Add references and appendices. You should not complete the addition of this before the last part of your report is completed. Arrange contents, list, index. So this also has to be added after the final part of your report is complete. Proofread, check and correct. This is very important to proofread the report, because you are so close to your report that straight away you may not find the mistakes. So repeatedly you may have to carefully read by yourself or with the help of your close associates. Well, this can help you identify all errors and bugs and omissions. Structure. Your report should be structured into the following sections: title page or cover sheet. You may have to follow any guidelines provided from your institution. This might include title, author, date, degree, award, etc. This is actually kind of format that every institution owns its own formatting. Abstract, acknowledgements, thanking those people who helped you. Contents listing, like list of figures and tables, and then the report, which includes at least 3 sections. 1. The 3 main sections are: 1, introduction, literature review, where you are going to have, telling the reader about what your work is about, and based on what research papers you really started your work, and what is the deviation from the research paper that you are going to do in your research, to main body. So this content will depend on the project that you are undertaking. Usually this includes methodology, requirements, design, implementation, etc. Okay. The 3rd main section, conclusion and recommendations. Summaries the contribution of the work and identifies future work. So a typical structure is shown here: abstract, acknowledgement, contents listing from chapter 1, introduction, 2, literature review, 3, requirements, 4, design, 5, implementation and test, 6, evolution, 7, conclusion, references. Style. The style of writing that you adopt to present your report needs to be seen from 3 views. 1, the actual presentation style of your report, like layout, font size, etc. 2nd, the style of grammar that you use within your report. 3 is overall content structure. So the report should have a definite beginning, like introduction, literature review, middle or center, which contains the important aspect of your project, like methodology, design, etc. End should have conclusion, summary, recommendations, and future work. Word processing. For computing students, it goes without saying that the best way to produce your report is using a word processor. These days, the computing students are very smart in documenting, as different word processors with lot of facilities are around. But however, one has to be careful while using the spell checkers, grammar checkers, because they might totally change the representation that the researcher wishes to. Students, those who use Linux or Unix systems, can go in for LaTeX word processor. So it will be helping them to present their mathematical text formatting and technical reporting in a better way. However, those who are using the Windows-based systems can go in for a system called MikeTech, which can be exploited for their purposes. Writing abstracts. Blackster defines the function of an abstract as to briefly summarize the nature of the research project, its context, and how it was carried out, and what were the major findings. The abstract provides the reader with an overview of the project and is the basis on which many readers will decide whether to read your report or not. So with this in your mind, abstract should be concise, clear, and interesting. Here, two example abstracts are given. The second abstract is preferred. I just recommend that you please read these abstracts yourself, and then you'll be understanding the comments that are made. However, in an abstract, incorrect content listing, the contribution the article is making, the details of breakdown of the article section are there, which are not a good way of presenting the things in an abstract. While the second abstract is preferred, as it sets the scene by introducing the field in which the project resides. Then it identifies some problems with the field before going on to state how the article attempts to fill the gap. So when you write your abstract, try to follow the structure and style of the second abstract, while omitting the first type is good. Data presentation. So in almost all projects, we may have to present data in some format, pictorial or in a plain text, etc. The data we obtain from questionnaires, surveys, software test results, algorithms, speed trials, all of this kind need to be presented in some understandable, good way, following some style and formatting. So charts and graphs are one form of graphical representation of the data that we collect. So all the figures and tables that you include within your report should be clearly and uniquely labeled with a number and a short description. If it is a table, the table need to have a small title that talks about what is the contents of the table. If it's a figure, you may have to say what is the figure is about. The most common approach is to label each figure and label using consecutive numbers prefixed by the current chapter number. So if there is a figure in chapter 3 this is the first figure that you are going to place in chapter 3, then it should be 3.1 and so on. When labeling a figure, it is usual to put the caption beneath the figure. While labeling a table, it is often better to place the caption above the table. Saunders and others present a checklist of points that one should observe when you have completed tables and figures within your report. For both diagrams and tables, you ask these questions within yourselves. Does it have a brief but clear descriptive title? Are the units of measurement used are clearly stated? Are the sources of data are clear? Are the notes to explain the abbreviations are present? Have you stated the sampling size? Right? These are all the questions that you have to ask to yourself. Particularly for diagrams, follow the checklist. Does it have a clear axis label? Are bars and their components in the same logical sequence? Is more dense shading used for smaller areas? Is a key or legend included wherever necessary? When you are using the table, does it have a clear column and row headings? Or columns and rows are in a logical sequence, right? So these are all the questions or checklists that one must follow before placing them in your report. When presenting these kind of data, like donut chart, polar chart, three-dimensional bar chart, we have to keep this in our mind. Try to keep figures and listings to one page. If code listings spread over several pages, consider moving the listing to an appendix. Consider alternate ways of presenting diagrams. For example, rather than including several figures showing the evolution of the system interface design, you could include a photograph that combines all of them one after the other. The pseudocode can be put inside a text box rather than allowing it to be present as a floating text. Referencing material and avoiding plagiarism. As it is said by Enoch, there is nothing that is said that has not been said before. In other words, everything that we are quoting has already been said by somebody else somewhere, right? But however, you have to take care when you are going to present the idea of some other people, present the words of some other people, diagrams, figures of some other people, results of some other people, you may have to reference them, right? That means giving the credit to them and then take the conclusions from that. However, plagiarisms may happen accidentally or deliberately, but what we need to remember is that academically it's a serious offense. Citing references has two ways. One, the Harvard system. The second is Vancouver system, that is the numeric system. The Harvard system is better system to use, as the numeric system requires each reference to be identified by a unique number. The Harvard type system uses the name of the author and the year of their publication to uniquely identify each reference within the report. So, how the books, journal articles, web addresses, trade or company publications, conference details can be represented is here listed clearly. it is better for you to read rather than me explaining them. Take these models and then make your report a best one. Thank you very much. See you with another good video. Thank you.